You
So,
think you
hi,
all came from
Michelle.
California? Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me on.
So, you've got a book coming out all about how to exit rich, and I love this topic. We haven't covered this before on how to really think about your business as something that you can sell because there's different types of freedom. Most people start their business with freedom in mind, and that for some people that's to sell and move on from their business. But there, as we were just chatting before, having a business that is ready for sale isn't as easy as you might think. So there's certain things you have to have in place, and I'm really going to pick your brains on exactly what that is so people can keep that in mind. But before we get started, I'd love to know how you got started in your business in the first place.
hmm Okay, so I've always been, it's kind of a long story. I've always been interested, I'll try to shorten it. I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I've always, knew I wanted to be my own boss, have my own businesses, and I've owned many different businesses in many different verticals. I did go to work for corporate America. I did go to work for Xerox for a short period of time and realized that I don't like working for corporate America. And I really, prefer to be my own boss. So I actually left Xerox, went into, started my own franchise development company. So I did franchise sales, franchise development, franchise consulting, and partnered with a few different franchisors as well and took equity from that franchisors. And then I realized I kept saying no, 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 because buyers would ask me, do you have any existing businesses? And I kept saying, no, I don't. I don't. We only sell new franchises. So then one day I'm like, why am I saying that? Why am I saying no when I should really be saying yes? And so, because I believe in law of attraction. So that's when I really decided to start my mergers and acquisitions practice. And that was a little over 20 years ago. We've sold over 1,000 businesses. We've done lots of valuations. And I really, I learned that what Steve Forbes says is true that 8 out of 10 businesses in America don't sell. That's 80% of businesses not selling. So I learned very early on in my M&A career that if I don't fix businesses, if I don't grow them, build them to sell, put them on a build to sell program, then the businesses are going to not sell and they're going to end up going out of business. And I would probably starve to death. So that's when I decided to really get into not just selling companies, but really specializing in buying, selling, fixing, growing. I buy businesses, I flip them. I'll partner with business owners, investing my money, my energy, my efforts, my capital, resources, and relationship capital, and really put them on a build to sell course. I do take equity in the business. And so that's what I do. I really specialize in buying, selling, fixing, growing businesses. I've written 2 books on the subject. So that's a little bit about me.
So, when you got your business started in the early days, did you ever imagine where it was going to go to? What was the kind of the vision in the early days for you?
I never really had a vision in the early days that I was going to sell businesses. That was never my grand plan. That was never my big scheme of things. But in the early days, I know I don't like somebody telling me what to do. I don't like taking orders from other people. And I love entrepreneurship. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I live, breathe, eat entrepreneurship. And my vision was always going to be that I would be my own boss and own my own businesses.
Yeah, and I love that you just have that direction that you're going in and like figuring out what that means for you and following your heart and your passion along the way.
Right.
So, what does it take to have a business that sells?
So it takes a lot, in America, like I said, 80% of businesses don't sell. And the number one reason that businesses don't sell is because business owners haven't created a business that a buyer actually wants to buy. And they don't really think about selling until a catastrophic event occurs. That could be internal, which is health issues, partner disputes, divorce, death; external, this pandemic that we're in. And that's really, business owners don't think about it until they're in a catastrophic event. And that's the worst time to sell your business. You need to sell your business when your business is doing well. You need to sell your business when it's in its prime, because if you're trying to sell during a catastrophic event, your business is going to be trending downward. So that's number one. Number two, when I said sellers don't really build a business that buyers want to buy, what I mean by that is they haven't built a business on what we call the infrastructure of the six P's. And we talk about the six P's in my book, Exit Rich. The first P being people. Many business owners have created a glorified job in which they go to work at every day rather than a business that actually works for them. So they are the business. If you have a consultant and the consultant is one person and they want to sell the consulting business, well, when that consultant leaves, the clients leave. The only way the consultant can sell that business is if the consultant is going to stay on for a period of time. We had a dentist that came to us and wants to sell their dental practice, been in business 45 years, one dentist, three dental hygienists. When he leaves, the patients leave. So I said to him, I said, we can sell your business, but you have to stick around for 2 to 3 years. He's like, honey, I'm burnt out. I am tired. I'm not sticking around. Well, then you have nothing to sell because when you leave, your clients leave, your patients leave. So that's another big mistake that business owners make. So people is the most important thing. You don't build a business, you build people, and people build the business. So you have to have the right people in the right seats, and you have to ask the who question. Who opens the door? Who deals with customer service, marketing, legal, accounting, manufacturing, transportation, logistics, environmental? The clue is that you should never be next to the who, because you really have to run a business. You have to build the business to run without you. If you are tied to the business, then it's really not sellable. If it is sellable, then you have to remain on for a period of time and you're not going to maximize value.
Mm. So I guess that's a good thing to know from the very beginning. So you
Hmm.
can design the infrastructure so that it is a standalone business that doesn't require you to be in the driving seat all day, every day, making that work.
Right.
So how do you know, well, what was a good time for a business owner to start thinking about their exit strategy? Because I know at the early stages, it's all very romantic. You're building your business. It's very passionate. You're in there. You don't necessarily think about ever selling that, but should people be thinking about it sooner?
Well, they should, because really the mindset around business owners has to change. The mindset has to change. It has to shift because, I mean, if you want to have a job, it's really not a business, it's a job. If you want to have your business slash job and you're happy with that, and let's say you have children at home and it allows you to have the flexibility to spend time with your children, gives extra money for the family, provides, better quality of life, then that's all great, right? That's all great. But you probably won't be able to sell it when you're ready. So you have to make the decision at early on. Do you want to just keep this job that you call a business and that's good for you and that's what you want to keep going forward? Or do you really want to take your concept, your business, build it into a sustainable business that's scalable and when you're ready, sellable? So you have to make up your mind as far as what you want to do. Um, Again, the biggest mistake the business owners make is they don't build their business as an asset. I mean, their business could be their most valuable asset, but they don't plan for the end game. And that's an issue because you're either growing or dying. Businesses are either going up or going out. And when I wrote my first book back in 2013, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, I did the research and learned that back then, 95% of all startups in the first 1 to 5 years would go out of business. That's common sense. We all know that. But what most people don't know is when I wrote Exit Rich in 2019, 2020, I did the exact same research and learned that the business landscape has actually flip flopped. Now it's only 30% of startups will go out of business. However, out of 27.6 million companies in the United States, those businesses that have been in business 10 years or longer will go out of business. 10 years or longer will go out of business. So You hear about the news stories all the time. Toys R Us in business 75 years, out. Kmart, out. Montgomery Ward, out. GNC closing down 900 locations. Pier 1 is gone. Um, what's the other? Godiva Chocolates closing down 1,500 locations. These businesses are not exiting rich, they're exiting poor. And they're selling for pennies on a dollar, closing their business, or even worse, filing bankruptcy. So it's really imperative to build that asset. The number one reason businesses are going out of business is because business owners stop doing what I call AIM. AIM, AIM is always innovate and market. Toys R Us did nothing new in 75 years. Blockbuster did nothing new. Blockbuster saw Netflix and they had the opportunity to buy Netflix and they did nothing. They sat back and ended up going out of business. So I think early on to decide, you know, what you want to do with your business is very important from the beginning. And then you want to decide, okay, if I am building this business as my most valuable asset that not only will provide for my family along the way, but I can get a huge cash out when I am ready to exit that will provide for my family and retirement and, will provide money for my kids for years to come. So you really have to make that determination. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And I work with my clients to figure that out. But then I work with them on what we call the STGPS exit model. And I can walk you through that if you like.
Maybe if you could give us just an encapsulated version, because I'm
Well,
sure
I mean,
people,
it's
if they
not
want
gonna
to go
take
into.
that it's not gonna take that long. So it's
Okay.
like 5 steps. It's not that hard. But number 1, the most important thing that business owners need to have is a destination. When you wanna drive somewhere in Switzerland, you pull out your phone. We do it all around the world. You go to Google Maps or something similar. You plug in your destination. If you don't plug in your destination, you're driving around in circles, right? That's what business owners do. They drive around in circles. They drive up and down the financial hills to end up nowhere, to end up broke, to end up in bankruptcy court because they don't have a destination. They don't have a final end game. They don't have a desired sales price. Business is serious business. It's not something we just go into and just think that it's going to work out for us. Business owners don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. So you have to have a destination. So we work with our clients to say, okay, let's determine your end game. Let's determine your desired sales price. What do you want to sell your business for? If you want to sell your business for, just pick a number. Everybody gets stuck on a number. It's just a number. You might hit it, you might not, but you have to start somewhere. You can adjust it along the way. So let's say you want to sell for $5 million. Boom, we have a number. That's number 1. Number 2, what is a destination? What does your GPS map need to know? It needs to know where you're starting from, right? So in other words, what is your current evaluation? What is your business worth today? Most business owners have never had their business evaluated, which is financial suicide. We go to the doctor once a year to get a physical checkup to make sure we're in good shape. We even drive our cars to the mechanic to get a tune-up on our cars, but we don't get an annual business valuation checkup. There are events that increase valuation and there are events that decrease valuation. COVID is a perfect example of that. So you need to know where you're starting from. So let's say you want to sell for $5 million and you're currently worth $1 million. Now you need to know time frame. What is your time frame? Let's say you want to do this in 10 years. Now you need to reverse engineer and ask yourself, well, who's my buyers going to be? Notice I say buyers, not buyer. Because if you have one buyer for your business, I can pretty much assure you that deal's going to fall apart and you have no backup buyers. Plus, you can't maximize value because you have no competition. So there's 5 types of buyers. First is first-time buyers. First-time buyers typically don't buy $5 million companies. They buy small companies. Turnaround specialists are the second kind of buyers, and they buy distressed assets. So private equity groups, they buy. Competitors, strategics is the 4th type of buyer. They usually pay the highest multiple and pay the most money for a business because they're buying synergies. And then the last type of buyer is serial entrepreneurs, sophisticated entrepreneurs that are industry agnostic, and they buy cash flow. So then you need to know, okay, well, if I want to sell my business for $5 million, where's the gross revenues need to be? What's the gross profit margin? Most importantly, what's the EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization have to arrive. Well, if you want to sell for 5 million, you need to have an EBITDA of about 1 million. Okay. Then you need to know, well, what synergies are the buyers looking for? What are they willing to pay top dollar for? And then the last step in the model is your why. Why do you want to sell your business for $5 million? Because if it was easy to sell for $5 million, everybody would be doing it, right? So that's the GPS exit model. It's a plan. Most business owners don't have a plan, and then they wonder why 80% of businesses never sell. That's why.
Yeah, when you go into that list, I was like, that just sounds like just good business planning.
It sounds like good business planning and common sense, but common sense is not so common.
Yeah, common sense and not common practice.
And business owners entrepreneurs, business owners get so wrapped up in the day to day minutia, and they're so busy in the day to day that they're working in their business and not on their business. So they're not thinking about building their asset, their most valuable asset. Think about that. Your business is typically your most valuable asset.
Mm,
They're not thinking about building it. Most people, they plan for their kids. Do you have kids?
yes, I do.
And so do I. We plan where they're going to go to preschool, where they're going to go to kindergarten, elementary, high school, college, how many grandkids they're going to give us. We plan out their whole future. I have a financial advisor and I have a wealth management plan. Most people plan out, their retirement, but they don't plan for the most valuable asset because of the mindset. They treat their business as their baby. Your business is not your baby. Go home and hug your kids and focus on your business and grow your most valuable asset.
So, are there any types of business that you just can't sell? It just would never work.
Well, I don't like to say can't or never because I'm a law of attraction positive type of person, always glass half full. So I don't like to say never, but the businesses that are very difficult to sell are the ones that the business is completely dependent upon the owner.
Mm.
And the owner doesn't have any employees. So there's a sweet little lady that called me a couple months ago. Her husband dropped dead from a heart attack. He left her with a mountain of debt. She's like, "Can you help me sell?" She goes, "I heard you're the best." I'm like, "I am." She goes, "Well, can you help me sell the business?" I go, "Well, let me start asking you questions." He had a construction business, no employees whatsoever, only had subcontractors. He had no policies and procedure manuals, no processes in place. All the data for his business that he ran for 30 years was in his head. When he died, the business died.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm on a mission to explain to business owners, set your business up for success, set your family members up for success, because that's a tragic story. This is a 75-year-old lady that has never done business, that now has a pile of debt on her, and she has no idea what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I know a lot of people when they start out in business, and we've learned from the show and from your own story that where you start is never where you end up. It's always good to just start somewhere, and then you'll figure out what you love to do, what your real potential is. Because a lot of time we've worked in a business and that's been crushed a little bit, and then we can blossom. But a lot of people start that business around something that they're particularly passionate about, some particular expertise or experience. Is there any way that is there something that they need to do with that information? As you say, that's mainly them and what's in their head. Is there anything they can do to turn that into a sellable asset?
Well, yes, they need to read my book Exit Rich because Exit Rich builds the infrastructure of a business, so it's actually sustainable, scalable, and sellable. And they need to build their business on, number one, they need to make sure they have the GPS exit in mind and build that out. And then they need to make sure that they have the infrastructure in place. The first P is people. We talked about people. Entrepreneurs have to stop doing everything. We're not good at everything. We need to focus on our strengths, figure out what that is, focus on our strengths and hire our weaknesses. If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. So, one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs have to do is get a team. And if you can't afford to hire somebody, I always say you can't afford not to. whether that's a 1099 or subcontractor or interns from a college. There's a way to build your team. That's number one. Number two is product. You got to look at your industry. And if you're just starting out a business, and you want to start a coffee shop and there's 10 other coffee shops in the same block, maybe not a good business idea. Or you want to start an ice cream shop in a mall, but there's already 5 ice cream shops, probably not a good idea. So you really want to look at your product, your service, your industry, and look at the industry and say, is this industry on the way up or is it on the way out? Is it an Amazon or is it a blockbuster? And you really want to make sure that if you are starting a business, you're starting a business in the industry that is thriving, not dying. Does that make sense? And then the third P that really answers your questions is processes. You got to have processes. You got to design processes from the beginning, and you need to design them with the customer experience in mind. You know, and the reason I say design with the customer experience in mind, have you ever done business with somebody, rather it be a bank or social media company or somebody like that, and you're like, oh my God, I had to talk to 10 people to get my problem resolved, and it's still not resolved, and these processes are the worst. Have you ever had that experience?
Yes, unfortunately.
Probably all the time, right? And then think about a good experience you've had, or an experience that you've had that's always consistent. It's like McDonald's. The McDonald brothers started McDonald's back in 1940, 1950. You should watch the movie The Founder. It's a great movie for all of your listeners to watch. But the McDonald's brothers said, we're going to develop a fast food restaurant and we're going to develop the processes around the customer experience. And they said, we want our customers to experience great tasting food that's hot, that's fast. So they designed their processes back in the 50s, 40s, 50s around that customer experience. So anywhere you eat at any McDonald's in Switzerland or London or Australia, USA, the experience is the same. You get good tasting food. It is hot. It's fast. Sometimes they mess up the order. Sometimes the customer service is not the best, but they're delivering on their customer promise.
Yeah.
So business owners got to figure out, what is your customer promise, and then build your processes around that customer experience so you create happy customers. You create wow experiences.
Yeah. I
And you
love that
have
you brought
happy
that up.
customers for life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. I love that you brought that up. Being a marketing veteran for many years, and I think a lot of people misunderstand marketing and think it's all about promotion, and it's not. It's about delighting your customers, making it profitable to serve these customers, and that means having loyal customers
But
who,
that's all about processes.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
if you get your processes wrong and you don't deliver on the customer experience, the customer promise, you will have unhappy customers. So you can do all the marketing in the world, but you get this piece wrong, then you can spend and waste a lot of money. You got to get your processes right. They need to be designed with the customer experience in mind. They need to be well documented, productive, efficient. Here's the other thing: have your policy and procedure manuals, get all that data out of your head onto paper. And you need to have those employee contracts, those employee non-competes, etc. Because when a buyer walks in to buy your business and pay you that $5 million, they're going to look at all your policy and procedure manuals and your SOP checklist.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
had a great tip for doing that as well. That's because it's quite difficult to think through your processes and write them down at the same time. So you just hire a college student, anyone, and you just talk at them and they write it down for you. And then it just makes it so much easier. I was like, oh, yeah, I like that. Anything that makes things easier, I'm all for that.
yeah, you can hire a college student, or you can use an app called Audio Notes, and you can talk through that, and then and then it transcribes it, so you can have it all printed out
Yeah,
without even having a college student.
yeah, even better.
What's that?
Even better.
Yes.
Well, Michelle, I've really loved this conversation, and I love that you've really shared something new with the audience, and it's going to open their eyes to think about right from the day one in your business, what's your end plan? And even if it's not something that you think right now that you might want to sell your business, it's still worth structuring your business in that
Right.
way, because one, it makes it a stronger business anyway. Um,
Well, it makes it a much more profitable.
yes, exactly,
And
exactly.
then if 70% of businesses are going out of business, do you really want to be in that percentage? No. So you really got to build your business on the 6 P's. Can I tell everyone where to get the book?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Unless you have more questions for me.
Well, I was just going to ask you if there is a final piece of information that you think is really vital for every, particularly every female founder out there, if they just knew this one thing, that it would really make a difference for them.
So I don't think there's really any such thing as this one thing. I think there's so many things you got to know because it's not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you don't know. So, but there's so many things. Like we didn't even finish going through the 6 P's. One of the biggest things that you need to know is proprietary. If you're going to set up your business, you want to make sure you get a federal trademark, not just a state trademark. Because if you just get a state trademark, you could be operating your business for years and years and years, and all of a sudden receive a cease and desist letter, and you have to stop using that company name. So you need to spend the money and get a federal trademark and protect your company name, protect anything that's unique to you, your podcast name, etc. Otherwise, you could build up all this branding and have to start over. So that's something really big that you need to know. Contracts. If you have client contracts, a recurring a subscription model, you need to make sure you have the 2 sentence transferability clause in that contract, because if you don't, then you might not be able to sell your business, because most sales are asset sales, not stock sales. So there's so many little nuances like that. They're all covered in my book, Exit Rich, as well. But I always tell business owners, female or male, align yourself with a mentor, align yourself with an expert, somebody who's traveled down the road you want to travel, because they will shorten your path dramatically. And it's always better to learn from somebody else's mistake than from your own. So get an expert, get a mentor. But most of the things that you should be doing in your business from day one is in my book, Exit Rich.
Great. So I think I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into your book myself. And my husband works in M&A, and I know when he's talking about the buyers and really sort of engineering things backwards to get the result that they want, and it's so interesting but so complicated as well. But if you build those things in from the beginning, which he finds even with the large companies he works with, there's huge pieces of the puzzle that are missing, that they go and have to fill in really quickly before they can get there. But knowing this stuff from the very beginning, as you say, it makes it sellable in the end, but just makes it a more solid and profitable business, and really an asset that will work for you for as long as you want it to, and then you can sell it when that's no longer your dream.
Right. Or when you're diagnosed with something,
Yeah.
or when something catastrophic happens, things don't last forever. What goes up must come down.
Yeah.
But just a little bit about Exit Rich. My co-author is Sharon Lechter, another strong female. She wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki, and she's a CPA, financial literacy expert, and the advisor to many different presidents. Plus, Steve Forbes has endorsed Exit Rich, and he says Exit Rich is a goldmine for entrepreneurs who leave too much money on the table when they try to exit their business. And then Kevin Harrington, the original Shark on Shark Tank, wrote the foreword for us. But everyone can go. We're actually in pre-launch right now. The book launches in June. Everyone can go buy Exit Rich at exitrichbook.com for $24.79. They don't have to wait till June. We'll email them the digital download immediately. And then for anybody in the United States, we'll send the hardcover to their doorstep for $24.79. Outside the United States, you'll have to pay extra for shipping. We will also give the lifetime membership to the Exit Rich Book Club, where we have video content of me doing training, different strategies and techniques, and also documents. So documents to operate your business, documents to sell your business, like sample employee handbooks and sample policy and procedure manuals, sample letter of intents, purchase agreements, due diligence checklists, and closing docs. All of these documents, if your husband's in an M&A, you would know that these will cost you over $30,000 to recreate.
Yeah.
So they're there for your review and automatic download. Plus, we're giving everybody who pre-buys Exit Rich a 30-day membership into Club CEOs, which is an entrepreneur mastermind that I started to help business owners plan and build that sustainable, scalable, and sellable business.
Wow, what an incredible group of resources. So I'll include all of those links underneath in the show notes page but below. But just in case anyone missed that, what was the web address again?
That's exitrichbook.com.
That's all one word.
Exitrichbook.com. What's that?
And it's all one word.
It's all one word. Yep. ExitRichBook.com. And then your listeners can text Michelle to 888-526-5750. And all of my social media pops up along with all my websites. And they can follow me on social media, plus connect with us on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today, Michelle.
Thank you for having me on. It's been my pleasure.